SQLite is a database provided by Python. See here. So the default database configured by the Django is, so what is the default database? It configures SQLite. You can see, so database, in databases, what is the databases you have? There is a database engine. What is the responsibility of database engine? Converting which code? Python code equivalent to SQL code. That is done by which one? Database engine. You have a django.db.backends. What is that? SQLite. SQLite 3, and this is a name. So where this database gets stored in project folder. If you see this project, so there is one database created. What is the name of the database? db.sqlite 3 is the name of the database. So default database, no, SQLite 3 or SQLite. So who provide this SQLite database? Okay, SQLite database is provided by which one? Python. For example, MySQL is provided by Oracle. SQL Server is provided by Oracle. Yes, and SQL Server is provided by Microsoft. And MySQL is provided by Oracle. And Oracle also provided by Oracle. But SQLite database is provided by Python. So Python is having his own database. What is the name of that? SQLite. Okay. So default database configured by every Django application is what is that here? SQLite. So where this database configuration is done, I said it is done in settings.py under this. So here you have you find one dictionary. So here you find one dictionary, and the dictionary is having a default. What is the default here? Key. What is the default here? Key. And this is a value. So there is a dictionary, and inside the dictionary, there is one more dictionary as a value. So inside a dictionary, you can write a dictionary, but not as a key, but you can write it as what? Value. So because the key can be mapped with more than one value. So it is a default. You cannot change this name. You cannot change this name because it is a default which is used by Django. And what is a database engine? As a database engine is nothing but a translator which translates the Python code into what? Equivalent SQL code. So django.db.backends. What is that? SQLite 3. So this is the name of this database engine. Database engine. So engine is there and one more is name is there. So what is database? What is database engine? What is database engine? So database engine is a library. Or what is it? Translator. Database engine is a library or what? Translator, which translates which code? Python code into, which translate the Python code into what? SQL code. That is done by which one? Database engine. So this database engine even can be called as ORM translator. This database engine can be called as ORM translator. So Django provides, so DJANGO. Okay, DJANGO provides various database engines. And all this engine comes with all these engines comes with DJANGO software or DJANGO, what is that? Framework. So you don't require to install anything. It comes with what? Django software only. Okay. So, but this is configuring which database? This is configuring which database? SQLite. Okay. But if you want to configure MySQL, this is configuring which database? MySQL database. If you want to configure MySQL database, everything will be the same. Everything will be what here? Same. But what you have to do is you have to change the engine. You have to change what here? Name. You have to define the username. You have to define password like that. So if you want to configure MySQL database, so what do you do it? Now this is configuring MySQL database. So inside the settings.py, inside the settings.py, inside the settings.py, configure. So configure which database? MySQL database. So how you are configuring now? You change the database engine. You change the database engine from SQLite to what here? MySQL. And here you have to give the database name. The database created within MySQL. Yes, the database created within MySQL. I should give the database name. You have to give database name, and not only that, you have to define what a username. So you have to give database username as a string. Now this is nothing but database username. And after that database username, you have to define database what here? Password. Okay, and this is also string. Database password, you have to give it as a string. Okay, then you have to give the host name. So that is nothing but IP address. You have to define the IP address or what is that here? Host name. So where your database is running. And next you have to define what you have to define here? Port number. So it is also a string database port number. Okay. So everything you have to define it as what here? String. So this is for configuring which database? MySQL database. You have to give the name of the engine as what here? MySQL. But here default engine is what? SQLite. But if it is MySQL, you have to define it as what? MySQL and database name, database username, database username. Okay, see here. You have to define the database username and database password and database host name and database port number. Okay. And if you want to configure, this is configuring which database? Oracle database. You want to configure Oracle database. Okay, then so what do you do it? You just give the database engine name as what? Oracle. So everything is the same. Everything is the same. But what you have to do is change the database engine. Change the database engine from MySQL to change the database engine from MySQL to what? Oracle. So all these are what your various database engines. Okay. So, but again, you have to give database name. Okay, database name and database username, database password, and database what? Host name and database port number. Okay, right? So these are the things required in order to establish connection to what? Database. Understood? So this is for SQLite database, and this is for what? MySQL database, and this is for what? Oracle database. But you find the various database engines. Okay, you can just search for this database engines provided by Django. So these are the database engines. So database engine provided by some DJANGO, right? DJANGO ORM. Now you find various database engines. Okay, you find a database engine for MySQL, Oracle, MariaDB, PostgreSQL, and SQL 8. So that is the default. That is what here default. Even you can use for various databases. I can see here database engine names. You can see yes. So what is the name of this database engine is Postgres SQL. Now you are providing service pass. Okay. And this is for Postgres SQL. And you can find here for various databases. So maybe here you find a list of this. Now this is might be MySQL. So you can find for MySQL here. Okay. So configuring to database, and what is the name of the database? MySQL. This is configuring which database? MySQL, right? And you can also find for configuring which one? Oracle. Okay. So this is for SQLite. That is the default configuration for which one? SQL. So default configuration for which one? SQLite. And this is configuring of which one? Oracle. Here. DJANGO.backends. What is that? Oracle name, username, password, host, and one more is port number. So these are the things which are required in order to communicate with what here? Database. Okay. All right. Okay, right. I think you understood this here. Okay. These are various configurations. Okay. Once it has been configured, for example, I want to communicate with a database like MySQL database. First, we'll see communicating with. See, anyway, default database is what? What is a default database? SQLite 3. Okay, now it is a local database, and you can see db dot what here? SQLite 3. But where is this database in project? It is created inside your project container folder, because what is the path is given here? Base directory. It is just like Excel. It is just like MS Excel. It is stored as one file. It is stored as one file. So what is the extension of this file? SQLite 3. MS Excel will have extension as what? .xls, .xls, right? So here, this database is having what is the extension is db.sqlite 3. And this file is created in which directory? Base directory. And what is your base directory is a project container folder, right? Now let me tell you, so how to configure. Now I'll try to create so separate project here. Okay, so this is communicating with. So communicating with which database here? MySQL database, right? Communicating with MySQL database. Now first anyway, create project. First you create project, then create what? Application within project. First you create a project and then create application within the project. So create the project and create application within the project. So I just open this folder where I want to create the project. Where I want to create the project, I just open the folder and then create the project DJANGO admin. Okay, start the project and project some 12. So the project is created and open the project, and within the project, so create what here? Application pattern manage.py. Okay, start application 1. So I created project, and within the project, I created what here? Application. So this is done. Okay, right? Then next step is, so what is the next step is? Open which one? Settings.py. So why settings.py? Configuring, so configuration of which one? Database. Which database? MySQL database. So before configuring, okay, first thing is Before configuring, just remember this. Before configuring, create one database. Before configuring, so before, this is a note here. So before configuration, create one database in MySQL. So create one database in MySQL. Okay. So because you should communicate with the database, right? Okay. So first what you do is before configuration, create one database in what? MySQL. You know how to work with MySQL, right? So just open MySQL command line. Okay, just open MySQL command line. And here you create one database. Here you create one database. Open MySQL and here you create one database. So create database. Now which database you want to create? Just give the name of the database, right? So I just give some name as what here? DJANGO DB. Okay, now this is okay, DJANGO DB or anything you can take. Database name is user defined. So DB what here? Test. What is the name of the database? DB test. Anything you can take. But I created database with what name? DB test. Okay, right? Now this is the name of my database. And what is the name of the database? DB test is the name of the database. So first you create database. Without creating database, you cannot do anything, right? So database must be exist first. So database, you have to create it. Okay. So I created one database in MySQL. Okay, now you configure it. Okay, so database is created, right? What is the name of the database created? DB test. Any name you can give. Whichever project you develop, give the name of that database. You are developing payroll project, give the database name as payroll. You are developing school project, then give the database name as what? School. Okay, right? So whichever database you develop, you create object of that. Okay, with a name, right? Then next is open settings.py. First to open the project what you created, just open that project. The project what you created, just open that project. Open the project, and after opening the project, okay, inside the project, open the settings.py. Open the project and inside the project, open settings.py. In settings.py, now here you define database settings. So you change this SQLite to what? SQLite to what? MySQL. Then your database name. This is not local database, right? Okay. So what is your database name? Just now you created. What is database you created just now, right? DB test. Okay. Database name is DB test. Okay. Then next is database username. What is your database username? Root. Okay. And whatever password you have in your system, just give that password. What is your database password? Give that. Now in my system, what is my password is root. Okay, then give what name here? Host name. And what is the host here? Local host. So or you give the IP address where your database is running. And what is the port number of MySQL is 330 Okay. So this is the port number of which one? MySQL. So open settings.py, and in settings.py, just verify. I mean, just configure database settings. Okay. Now these are the things what you have to do here. Okay. Now this is configuring database. And once the database is configured, then how to test it, whether it is working or not. How to test it without deploying. Okay, right? Now what you do is, now this is your database. Okay, this is your database, right? So how to test it, whether your application is, it means this database is working or not, right? How to test it, whether your application or database is working or not. So for that, what you can do is you can just open. So what you can do is you can just open. First you work with one database here. Okay. First you work with one database. Then later we'll see multiple databases. Okay, right? Okay, right? Now this is how it is. Then after that, how can you test it, whether this is working or not, right? So for that, you just open DJANGO shell. Open the DJANGO shell. So how to test it? How to test a database configuration, or how to test a database configuration. Okay, I can say configuration, or how to communicate. How to communicate with the database without developing without developing without developing which one? Application. Okay, you know it. You can interact with the you can work with the Python in two modes. One is in interactive mode and one more is what? Scripting mode. If you want to test it, you can test it directly in which one? Interactive mode. Okay, if you want, you can write a code and you can test it. But I don't want to write a code and test. I want to work in which mode? Interactive mode. Then what you do it is, okay, open. Okay, open. The first one is open DJANGO shell. You open with shell, DJANGO shell. So you can interact with the Django application. You can interact with the Django application by using which shell? DJANGO shell. You can interact with the Django application by using which shell? DJANGO shell. It is similar to what here? Python shell. It is similar to which shell here? Python shell. Then how can you open DJANGO shell? How can you open DJANGO shell? Just go to terminal. Just go to terminal and say python manage.py and type which one? Shell. Python manage.py. Oh, sorry. So python manage.py, and what is the name of this here? Shell. So once you say shell, now it is open which one? Interactive mode. Okay, this is a kernel or not? Yes. So this is working with the Django in which mode here? Interactive mode. Getting or not? So this is, now you can work with your project. Means you can communicate with your project. You can communicate with your project. But you are communicating with your project in which mode? Interactive modes here. So this is interactive mode. And here you just type import. Import, what is the name of this package here? DJANGO.db. DJANGO.db, I'm saying import, and what I'm importing here? Connection array. So from import DJANGO.db, from DJANGO.db, import, what is that here? Connection. So from DJANGO.db, import, what is that? Connection. Now it is imported which one here? Connection. So it means connection is created or not? Is it connection is created or not? Yes. Connection is what here? Created. Suppose if this statement is not working, means there is a problem in what? Configuration. If this statement is not working, it means there is a problem in what here? Configuration. So from django.db, import what is it? Connection. You know it, how you communicate with a database. What are the basic steps? You establish connection to what? Database. Second step is you create which object? Cursor object. Cursor, you create a cursor or not? Yes. Cursor is for what? Sending SQL statements. Okay. But always you create a cursor using which objects here? Connection object. Then how you create it? You will say connection dot. You will say connection dot. What is the name of this here? Cursor. Now cursor is created or not? Yes. Cursor is created or not? Yes. Cursor is what? Created. So once the cursor is created, can you insert the data or not? Yes. How can you insert the data? How can you execute? Cursor dot. What is the method is execute. Now this is with SQL or without SQL? With SQL. This is with SQL or without SQL? With SQL. Correct or not? This is with SQL or without SQL? With SQL. Cursor dot execute. Can you execute by sending which command? Insert command. Okay. But we are communicating with the database. Okay. With SQL or without SQL? Without SQL. So you need to test it by writing these two statements. In which mode? Or these two statements you should write in which mode? Interactive mode. These two statements you have to write. Okay, right? So open DJANGO shell. How you open it? So first thing is open which one? Terminal. Open the terminal. And in the terminal, just type the command Python manage.py and then what? Shell. If I say Python manage.py shell, okay, so it will open which shell? Django shell. Now this is what I did here. Okay, so Python manage.py shell. Now after that, you test it by giving how many statements here? Two statements. Just to type these two statements where an interactive shell. Okay, fine. So this is testing it whether it is working or not. Not only that, this is also helpful in communicating with the database without writing any code. Okay, you don't want to write an application to check whether it is inserted or updated or what? Deleted. Okay, you can test it. You can test it without writing what? Application. In which mode? Interactive mode. So it is helpful in debugging purpose. It is helpful in what? Debugging purpose. So for that, you can use which one? Django shell. Right. Okay. Now this is done. This is done. It is working or not working? Tell me here, is it working or not working? Working. If it is not working, you have to check where you have done the mistake. Okay, now if you say exit, it will come out of which mode? Interactive mode to terminal. Now you are in what now? Terminal. You are in terminal. Okay. But most of the problems you come across is either problem with which one? Username or password or host or port. Or if database also not created, then you may come across some problem. Right? So next one is, now first step is over. First step is over or not? Yes. What is the first step? Database configuration is over. Okay. Then second step is you have to develop a model. You have to develop which one? Model. So second is create. Create which one? Model. Create a model. Okay. Create one model. So what is model? So what is model here? Tell me here in ORM, what is model is? Model is a class. In ORM, what is a model is? Model is a class. Okay. In object relational mapping, in ORM, or in object relational, in object relational mapping, or in ORM, model is nothing but what is that here? Class. Model is nothing but a class which represents, okay, table. Okay, model is nothing but a class which represents table in a relational database. So what is a model in ORM? That is object relational mapping. Model is nothing but a class. What is a model? Is nothing but a class which represent table in what? Relational database. It represent table in relational database. Understood? Okay. So how to create a model? It means model is a responsible in communicating with which one? Database and database table. Okay. So if you want to do anything in table, you do anything in table using which one? Model. So it means you create an instance of a model. Creating instance of a model is nothing but, okay, creating a record and updating the record, deleting the record. Now model provide various methods. Model provide various methods, right? So models represent what? Database. Model represent what? Table. So here in this application you have what? Models. Models.py. This models.py is a module which refers to what? Database. And in this database you create one number of models. And each model represent one table. Each model represents what? One table. Getting on. So models.py. So model is defined inside which one? Models.py. So models.py represents what here? Database. Models.py represent what here? Database. Okay. So models.py consists of which logic? Which logic? Persistent logic. Models.py consists of which logic? Persistent logic. Persistent logic are, okay, database what here? Logic. So models.py consists of persistent logic or what? Database logic. Okay. Then how to create a model? How to create a model? How to create a model? So how to create model? How to create a model? So how to create a model that rules are given by whom? How to create a model that rules are given by whom? Django. So Django is provided abstracts. How to develop a model? So how to create a model? Now DJANGO or Django provided abstracts. It is provided abstracts for developing which one? Model. For developing model. Okay, what is that abstracts are? So it is provided django.db. Django.db. You can see one module imported here. What is the name of the module imported here? Django.db. Import what is it? Models. So Django is a package. DB is also package. And models is what here? Module. So this is a module which provides some abstracts. How to develop a model. So what is the name of this here? Django.db import. What is the name of that here? Models. So models is the name of the module. And Django is a package name and DB is what again? Package name. And what is the name of that module name is? Models. And this is provided one abstract class. It is provided one abstract class. What is abstract class? Abstract class is a class only, right? Abstract class is a class. What it contain? Abstract methods. Abstract class contain what? Abstract methods. What is an abstract method? A method without implementation. A method without implementation is called which method? Abstract method. What it define? Set of rules and regulations. Abstract method define a protocol which has to be implemented by every subclass. Ring on it. Every derived class must provide the same, provide the implementations. It means abstract methods contain abstract class contain abstract methods as well as concrete methods. What is abstract method? A method without implementation. What is a concrete method? A method with implementation. Your abstract class contain abstract methods as well as what? Concrete methods. So module is provided one abstract class. What is the name of that? Model. What is the name of the class here? Model class. So every model has to be inherited which class? Model class. Every model must be inherited which class? Model class. Getting on. So how you develop a model? By inheriting which class? Model class. How you develop animal? By inheriting which class? Animal class. How you develop an animal? By inheriting which class? Animal class. What animal contain? Set of rules and regulations. How you develop an abstract class? By inheriting abstract class. By inheriting properties of which class? Abstract class. What is the name of that class? ABC. ABC class is there, no? So what is ABC stands for? Abstract base class. Any class, if you want to make it as abstract class, that must inherit which class? ABC class. And where is ABC class in which module? ABC module. All this Python. Okay, right? Yes. Every model must be inherited which class? Model class. Model class must be inherited. Yes. So it defines the layout or like this. So what is the syntax? What is the syntax of writing a model? What is the syntax of writing a model? Right? Why you are writing a model? So model is an entry point or model is required to communicate with which one? Database. Because you are communicating with the database using which programming? Object oriented programming. Then how you represent table in Python? How you represent table in what? Python means you are mapping object oriented programming with what? Relational database. In relational database, it is what? Table. Then you should link, you should map which one you are mapping with? Class. What is that class is here? Model. Getting on. So it means if you are doing anything on model, that represent you are doing all things on. You are doing anything on model means you are doing everything on what? Table. Model represent what? Table. Models represent what? Database. Models represent what? Database. Model represent what? Table. So tables, then you develop multiple models. Understood? Right? Yes. So model class. How you are writing this? Now there is a class. As a class and represent what name here? Model class name. And this must inherit which one? Model. But where is this model class is available in? Models. What is models here? Module. What is model here? Class. Models is a module and model is what here? Class. So model class represents what? Table. What table contain? What table contain? What table contain? Fields. Fields are columns, right? Table is having fields are not. Yes. So how you represent that fields? By creating variables. Now inside a class, you can create how many types of variables? Two types. One is instance variables and one more is class variables. Yes or no? You create two types of variables, huh? Okay. How many types of methods? Three types. What is it? Instance method, class method, static method. How many types of variables? Two types. Instance variables and class. Inside a class, you can write two, but you can also write local variables. Local variables are inside a method. But whenever you are talking about a class, you have only members. Members are how many types? Only two types. One is instance members and one more is class members. Instance members bind with self. Class members bind with class. Any variable bind with a self inside a class is called instance variable. And any variable which doesn't bind with a self, bind with what? Class, is called which variable? Class variable. Getting on it. So you write which variables now? Class variables. You create which variables? Class variables. Now, how you write? You write a class variable inside a method or inside a class, right? So here you write a variable, but this variable represents what here? This variable represents what here? Field. This variable represents what here? Field, or the same thing. You can call it as which name? Column name. This is nothing but what name? Column name. So each model represent one table. Each model represent one table. What table contain? Columns. It means you are creating one. Writing a model is nothing but you are creating one table. If the table is already exists, it will map with the existing table. If the table is not created, it will create one table. Getting or not? Writing a model is nothing but building one table. Mapping with the table. Mapping with the table. Okay. If the table is not there, what will it do? Create a table. If the table is there, it will map with that table. But are you giving any table name? Are you giving table name? Are you giving table name? Are you giving table name? This is what? Model name is nothing but what? Table name. Model name is nothing but what? Table name. Getting or not? If you don't give the table name, right? This is nothing but table name only. So when you are not created any table, okay? So by default, it will create a table with what name? Model class name. It will create a table with what name? Model class name. So column name equal to column name. Every column is having what? You create a column with what? Data type. You create a column with what? Data type. So you are creating this column with what? Some object. Now this column should be some type or not? Yes. So that is nothing but what name? Column. This is what? Column. Column which name? Type name. Column name and column type name. Means you are creating this column with what? Some type. For example, you'll say in Python you'll write A equal to list. A is an object of which type? Or A is an object of which type? List type. Okay, right. If I'm writing a B equal to dictionary. Now B is an object of which type? Dictionary type. If I'm writing C equal to str. Now C is an object of which type? String type. Means C can hold which type of data? String data. And B hold which data? Dictionary data. A hold which data? List data. If I'm writing some D equal to integer, then D is an object of which type? Integer. Now D hold which data? Integer data. Telling us. So all these are objects or not? Yes. So every column is again one more object. What it contain? Data. What it contain? Data. So column name and column type. See, whenever you define the column type, you also apply some constraints, relationships, constraints, as well as what? Relationship. We'll discuss that. Okay, na? So, for example, if you are creating a table, I think you learn MySQL, right? You have what? Primary key. What are the constraints, sir? Primary key. Next, foreign key. Unique, not null. All these are what? Constraints. Constraints are nothing but set of rules and regulations. It means you can do validations either at client side or you can do the validation at what? Server side. Okay, can you do some validation at server side or not? Yes. By applying what? Constraints. At the time of, now same thing you can define in the model. Same thing you define in the model. Now column name, and followed by column type. Again, I'm saying column name followed by column type name, which you call it as data type name. This is data type name. How many columns you can define? Any restriction? Any restrictions are there or no there? Not there. Not there. Right? There's no restriction on defining column. But inside this, you also provide some class. Inside this, you write another class. Inside a class, you are writing a class. Writing a class inside a class is called nested class. Okay, nested class. You can write a class inside a class. That you call it as what? Nested class. Nested. We have learned this, right? In object-oriented programming. What is the nested class name is? Meta. Inside this, you provide the information about model. Suppose by default, it will create a table with what name? Model class name. But I want to create with my own name. Then you provide the information about what? Model. So this is nothing but providing. This I'll discuss. Providing information about model. So what is metadata? Metadata. Data means information. What is metadata? Providing information about your model. So that you can call it as which class here? Meta class. We'll discuss this later. Okay, na? Right. So this is how you develop the model. So DJANGO provides data types. DJANGO provide model data types. Model data types. So these are DJANGO. Which data types? Model data types. So you have a lot of data types. You can just go through documentation where you can find all these data types, and where you find all these data types in module called which one? Models. Now you find every data type is so all these are data types. So DJANGO model data types. Now these are nothing but field references, or you can call these are which one? Data types. You can see so many data types are there here. See what all these are. See here, all these are what? Data. You can see field types. Auto field, big integer field, binary field, Boolean field, character field, date time field, decimal field, email field. See here. Image field, integer field. See here. All these are different types of fields. But I just list out some of the fields. Okay, right? But whenever you say each field is having their own properties. Okay, what is the name of the field? Now, where you find all these fields in? Or where you find all these field types are in? Every field type is one class. See, everything in object oriented is one class. Every data type in Python is what? Class. Integer is a class. Float is a class. Everything is what? Class. And creating every object behind there is one class. Now you are creating a field. Now you create a field with some type or not? Yes, that is a field. Field is one object. Every field is one object. What it hold? Data. Data of specific type or not? Yes. So here, now DJANGO model data types. Model data types are available or exist in what is that? DJANGO dot what? DB dot what is the name of this? Models. So whenever you want to create a object of a specific type, you have to use models dot where you are finding in. You find models dot what is that? Fields. DJANGO dot DB dot models dot fields. Here models dot what is this here? Integer field, float field, whatever field is there, you have to define that field name. See here. Yes, model. Now you can see models dot which field it is? Decimal field. Decimal is nothing but what? Float. See, all these are. You can find float field also there, and you have a decimal field. Let us see some of the field names here. What is the name of this? Models dot. What is the name of the field is? integer field. Models is the name of the module. So models dot, what is the name of the field? Character field. Okay, models dot, what is the field here? Text field. Okay, and you are saying models dot, which field it is? Float field. Okay, models dot, which field it is? Date field. Okay, date field. So models dot, which field here? Email field. Okay, models dot, which field it is? Image field. Okay, like this, you have a lot of field data types. But I just given list of some of the data types. Models dot, which field? Decimal field. Models dot decimal field. Okay, yes. Models dot auto field. Auto. So auto means you want the value to be incremented automatically. So it is an integer field, but it get incremented what? Automatically. So models dot which field? Auto field. Models, sorry. Okay, models dot. What is the name of this here? Boolean field. So 10 fields I listed here. Okay, right? Yes. Okay, let me create one model. Understood? Up to this, you understood? Okay, why you are creating a model? Model represents, model class represents what here? Table. Model represent table. Model represent one table. Say, model represents a table within what? Database. So any operation your application want to do on database, it will do it by using what? Model. Okay. So without writing any code. So this model class provide various methods for inserting, updating, and deleting and retrieving. Model class here, this model class provide various methods and properties. Model class provides various methods and properties for performing operations on database table without using what? SQL. Without using SQL. Suppose you want to create, then there is a method called what? Create. You want to create a record, you want to insert a record, there is a method called create. But are you using any command call insert? No. You're not using any command call. Which one? Insert. Everything. You want to do anything on table, use which class? Model class. Understood? All of you? Right? What model represent? Table. If you want to do any operation on table, you do it using which one? Model. Okay, using model, you are communicating with what? Database table. Okay, right? Yes. So each column represent one column, right? So then next one is, okay, if you do one, two times, then you'll get an idea. Okay, right? So there is a class. Which class you want to create? Just define. Developing a model class is nothing but developing one table. So that if the table is not there, it will create. But you can also use which table? Existing table. So that also we'll discuss. Class. What is that class name? Now suppose I'm creating one class, model class. What is the name of this here? Student. Student. What is student is? No. Student is what? Model. Then if you write only student, is it readable? No. Then whenever you are saying it is model, you just add a suffix as what? Model. Just add it as what? Model. Means student model. What is the name of the class? Student model. Okay, no? Then this should be inherit which class? Models dot. So giving model is not compulsory here, because it is a model class. Then you should represent with the suffix as what? model. EMP model, student model. Yes. Okay. So what is the name of the class? Student model. And this class inherit which class? Model class. But giving model is not compulsory. It is optional. Okay, na? But this is inherited which class? Model class. Then you have to define the fields or not. Yes. So what is the field name is here? Roll number. Okay. What is the column name or field name? Roll number. Roll number is which type? I'm saying integer. Integer what? Field. I just given integer field. So what is a field type? I've taken field type as what? Integer field. So this is integer field. So integer field. Now this is a maximum value. And this is what now? Minimum value. How many values? I mean, you can input the value which range from this to what here? This. Okay, right? Integer field. Then next, what is the next one is name. So name is models dot. Models dot. Which one? Which field? Text field. I'm trying to use which field? Text field. But do you have a text field? And you also have which field? Character field. What is the difference here? For example, if it is a character field, this is a character field where you define the maximum length. You define the maximum length. Means character field allow extra arguments. What is it extra arguments it allows? Maximum length. Maximum length. Character field as a maximum length. So where you define what is the maximum length of this. But when it comes to the text field, now you also have a text field, right? This is a text field. Okay, so if you specify the maximum length attribute, it will reflect to which one? So text field is just like which one? Text area. Means you can input what? Multiple lines. Multiple lines, right? So, but actually there is no maximum length. You don't require to define the maximum length if you are trying to define which field? Text field. But when you are using a character field, you have to define it as which one? Maximum length. You define the maximum length. This is equivalent to which one? Input field. Okay, I just take this as which field? Character field. And then I'm saying maximum length. What is the maximum length I've given? 20. So there is a roll number and there is a name and there is a course and models dot and again which one? Character field with maximum length. Maximum length is 20. Maximum length. Okay, then next one is a fees. And then I'm saying models dot. What is the next field is? Float field. I just take this as what? Float field. Now there is one data type again. What is the name of this here? Float field. Okay. So there is a float field. Now here you can define float. Now you can floating point number represents, okay, represent Python by float instance. Okay. The default form widget is input number, input type is which one? Number, right? So generally, yes. What is the meaning of this is, for example, you can convert, see when you are converting this generally, this model can be converted into what? Form. Actually, this model can be converted into what? Form. When you convert this model into a form, for every field, it will create one input field. For every field, it will create one input field. For every field, it will create one input field. This is now integer field is there. Now this is which field? Number input field. Character field is there. This is which field? Input type is what? Input type is what? Text. Input type is what? Text. Input type is text. But you want text area. So text area is used for input one line or multiple line? Multiple line. In that case, you'll go for another type. What is that another type? What is it another type? Character field is there and one more is another field is also there or not? Yes. What is it another field? Text field. Text field is for what? Multi-line text. Character field is for what? Single line text. Text field is for what? Multi-line text. Character field is for what? One line text. Getting or not? Okay. So there is an integer field and there is a character field and one more is which field? Float field. Okay. So I created model. So is it model is created or not? Yes. Once a model is created, what do you have to do now? What do you have to do after this? What do you have to do? You have to do some conversion or not? Yes. You have to do some conversion. Now the first one is after developing model. Up to this clearer? What do you say here? Yes or no? Okay, after creating model. So model is created. After creating model, what you have to do is, yes, you have to generate. What do you have to do? You have to generate a database schema, right? You have to generate a database schema. Okay. You have to generate a database schema for this particular model. You have to generate database schema for this particular model. How you generate a database schema for this particular model is by using, by using which one? Make. There is one command. What is the name of the command is? Make migration. Okay, just write here what is database schema. Database schema. Okay, database schema. So why this database? What is the use of this database schema, right? Database schema, it is useful for debugging. It is used for only for what? Debugging. Debugging is nothing but now any changes you do in the model, okay, you want to know is it generated equivalent database schema for that model or not? So that you can find out in one file. What is that file is called? Database schema file. Getting on not? What is database schema? Structure. Schema is nothing but what? Structure. It is a structure. Database schema is nothing but structure. Now, as a developer, for every model, you generate equivalent code in Python. In Python, that you call it as which one here? Database schema. Getting on. So database schema is nothing but for every model it will create a equivalent database schema. This is useful for debugging purpose. It means whenever you do changes in model, okay, the changes has to be done in what? Schema. Because always your Django will generate or your Django will do everything in the database by using which one? Schema only. Getting or not? So compulsory, you have to see whether this database schema is generated for every model or not. So you create this database schema by using one command called make migration. Make migration. What is the name of the command is? Make migration. Create a database schema. Create one database schema for which one? Model. Schema is nothing but layout or structure. Schema is nothing but data layout or what is that? Structure. So what is database schema? Okay, database schema in what is this now? DJANGO. Okay, what is database schema in DJANGO? See here. In DJANGO, the database schema is primarily defined through DJANGO models. Each DJANGO model represents what here? Table, and the attributes within the class define what? Columns of that table. This approach allows developers to interact with what? Database using Python code rather than directly writing what? SQL. That is what we have seen. Okay, then first you are developing which class? Model class. Then you are defining model fields, relationships, and then what? Migrations. When you define or modify your DJANGO models, You use DJANGO migration system to generate and apply changes to the actual database schema. Actual database schema. Now this process create our alters tables and columns to match your model definition, right? So now it is compulsory. Now this is how you what you do is you migrate which one the Python code into which one relational database by generating which one database schema, right? So when you define a modify when you define or modify your DJANGO models, you use DJANGO migration system to generate and apply changes to what actual database schema. Actual database schema is nothing but, see, database schema, what it represents is structure of the database. Database schema represent what here? Structure of the database. Now, whenever you do changes in the model, okay, whenever you do changes in the model, you need to do changes in what? Database schema. Then how that can be done? By using what? Migration. Suppose if you don't do the migration, is it changes are applied or not applied? Not applied. So as a developer, suppose as a developer, what you have done is you migrate it. Suppose you do migration means it is created what database schema. But after some time, you added one new column in what model, but you forgot to what migrate. You forgot to what migrate. Then how you know it? Is it been migrated or applied changes or not applied changes?